Welcome to the Highly Sensitive and Strong podcast. I'm Daphne Lee, a former anxiety sufferer turned holistic anxiety coach, mindfulness teacher, mom, and guide for highly sensitive people. Anxiety was part of my life for as long as I can remember, and as a teenager, I was hospitalized for anxiety, panic disorder, and agoraphobia. Since then, I've learned to transform those challenges into strengths, and now I help people like you calm their nervous systems and live in a way that truly honors you. Each week, I'll share honest conversations, insights, and practical tools to help you heal anxiety in your body and mind so you can thrive as your highly sensitive and strong self. I'm so glad you're here. Let's get started. Hello, friend. Have you ever caught yourself thinking, I should be able to handle this better without feeling so exhausted afterward? Maybe you had a social event or a full day with people you love, and by the end of it, you were completely spent. You got home and your body and mind just needed to stop. But instead of giving yourself permission to rest, part of you wondered, what is wrong with me? If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. Your nervous system is doing exactly what it was designed to do, and today I want to talk about why social interactions sometimes require more recovery time for highly sensitive people, and why that need is biological, not a personal failure. A lot of us notice this pattern early in life, even if we didn't have language for it at the time. We enjoy meaningful conversations, we care deeply about our relationships, and genuinely want those deep, authentic connections with people, with nature, with animals. But after we've been around others, something inside our body feels tired. It might show up as mental fatigue, like your brain just doesn't want to take in any more information. Sometimes it's emotional heaviness or that feeling of being full in a way that's hard to describe. It could show up as a strong need for quiet or solitude, and sometimes it comes with a low hum of anxiety even when the interaction itself felt really good. And that last one is worth pausing on because I think it's one of the most disorienting experiences for sensitive people. You had a genuinely nice time. Maybe you laughed a lot, felt connected, and enjoyed yourself. And then you got home and you notice that your body feels wired or heavy, or maybe even both. And the thought creeps in, I should be able to handle more than this. I shouldn't need to go be alone in a quiet place. Everyone else seems fine and ready to move on to the next activity, so why can't I? I want to gently offer that those thoughts, as understandable as they are, aren't accurate. What's happening isn't a weakness, it's your depth of processing as a highly sensitive person, and that's what we're going to unpack today. Highly sensitive nervous systems take in and process a lot more information during social interactions than most people realize. And I mean a lot more. It's not just the words that are being said, it's the tone behind the words, the expression on someone's face that shifted, maybe even just for a second. It can be the overall energy in the room, and even when two people in the room have tension between them that nobody's acknowledged out loud, but you're picking up on. You are taking in the background noise, the lighting, the temperature, the unspoken expectations. Your nervous system is tracking all of that simultaneously and automatically, whether you're consciously aware of it or not. This is what depth of processing actually looks like in everyday life. Sensitive nervous systems don't skim experiences, they take them in fully and deeply. And that is genuinely beautiful, but it's also genuinely tiring. I think about it sometimes like the difference between reading the headline of an article versus sitting down and reading the whole thing, every word, including the footnotes. Both people encountered the same information and got the gist, but one of them used significantly more energy doing it. That's not a flaw in the person who took in all of it. Many people would say it's a bonus, but either way, it's a different way of engaging with the world. This reminds me of something a friend said to me many years ago, long before I ever heard the term highly sensitive person. I was explaining how tired I felt after being around people, and she said something I've never forgotten. She said, "You're like a finely tuned race car, not a work truck." And that means you need different care and different conditions to run well. So, something about that reframe helped me so much at the time. It wasn't that I was weaker, I was just tuned differently. And different tuning requires different maintenance. I've come back to that image many times over the years. There's also what I call sensory load, and in many cases, sensory overload. During social interactions, your brain is simultaneously organizing voices, movement, lighting, the background sounds, the emotions and energies of the people around you, the smells, your physical sensations, and the unspoken social expectations of the situation. All of it, it's taking in all of it at once the entire time. And your nervous system is working really hard even when the environment feels pleasant. This is actually one of the reasons I feel so strongly about giving all five of our senses intentional rest from constant stimulation, and not just after hard days, but as a regular practice to help us stay balanced. It's something Ayurveda, which is the sister science of yoga, speaks to really beautifully, and something I personally return to often, but that's a whole conversation that we can save for another episode. And there's one more layer I want to talk about here. Many of us naturally monitor how other people are feeling during interactions. We might do this to protect our connections. Sometimes it's out of an old habit of trying to stay safe. And sometimes it's simply because our nervous system is so naturally attuned to others that it happens without any effort at all. You might recognize this as that thing you do where you're in a conversation and part of your attention is always on the other person. Are they okay? Do they seem upset? Did I say something wrong? Do they need something from me? Even when everything is fine, even when you're enjoying yourself, that monitoring uses energy and it accumulates over the course of an interaction in ways that can leave you feeling more depleted than the conversation itself might explain. So, a client once described it to me as feeling like she had been working two jobs at once. One job was being present in the conversation, and the other job was quietly managing everyone's emotional experience without anyone asking her to. That landed really deeply for me because I think a lot of sensitive people know exactly what that feels like. Here's what I want you to remember about this. Your nervous system isn't getting tired because connections are too much for you. It's getting tired because your connections matter so much. And that's a very different thing. So, what actually helps when social interactions leave your nervous system depleted? The first and honestly most important shift is in how you interpret your recovery needs, because the story we tell ourselves about why we need rest really matters. Recovery isn't avoidance, it's regulation. Think of it like digestion. Your body takes in food, breaks it down, and then needs time to absorb it. In the same way, your nervous system does something very similar with experiences. It takes in everything from that interaction, processes it deeply, and then needs time to integrate it all and settle again before you're ready to do it all over. So when your body asks for quiet, it's not failing or being antisocial, it's finishing what it started. So I encourage you to start paying attention to what actually helps your nervous system settle after connections. And this is genuinely individual. What works for one sensitive person might not work for another, and it's worth experimenting. Some people need silence and alone time in a room all by themselves. For others, it's stepping outside, feeling fresh air, hearing natural sounds. Maybe it's lying down for even a few minutes with no phone, no input, just giving yourself a chance to rest. That's always been one of my personal favorites and something I come back to regularly. And sometimes I'll add a guided deep relaxation, especially when my mind is feeling particularly active and I need something to gently focus on to help me unwind. For other people, gentle movement really helps. Maybe going for a slow walk without a particular destination. And for a lot of sensitive people, it's simply not having to respond to anyone for a while, not being needed by anyone else, but being able to just exist without performing. Now, this can be particularly challenging if you have little ones at home, and I want to acknowledge that because it's real. Now that my own kids are grown, I have more control over my recovery time. And even still, there are days when I really need a reset, and even one of my cats coming in and being needy feels like too much for me, which tells you something about just how real sensory overload is, even in those ordinary moments in our life. I had a client who discovered that her transition ritual after work was to spend about 20 minutes in her car in her own driveway before going inside. And she felt a little silly about it at first, but she said it was the difference between walking in the door feeling halfway human versus walking in completely depleted and snapping at her kids within a few minutes. So that's not silly, that's wisdom about your own nervous system. Another really helpful shift is planning for recovery time before you need it rather than waiting until you're already running on empty. This is a reframe that sounds simple but can genuinely change things. Instead of telling yourself, I shouldn't need this, try saying, my nervous system does best when I give it time to integrate and transition. If you know you have a social event on Saturday, build in some quiet time on Saturday evening. If you have back to back meetings, see if you can protect even 5 minutes between them. Even creating those small buffers can make a really big difference in how you feel. I find that 5 minutes of intentional rest helps. 10 to 20 minutes helps even more. But what helps the most is making it a consistent part of how you structure your days rather than something you only do once you've already hit a wall. And this is exactly why practices like yoga nidra can be so supportive for sensitive nervous systems. Yoga Nidra is a guided deep relaxation practice. It's sometimes called yogic sleep, and it helps the body shift out of processing mode and into genuine restoration. It's different from meditation in that you're guided into a state that's between waking and sleeping, which allows your nervous system to release accumulated tension in a way that regular rest sometimes doesn't reach, and in a way that taking a break by scrolling on your phone often misses completely. If your nervous system often feels tired after social days or emotionally full environments, I'm going to link two yoga nidra practices that I've created in the episode description. One is for a nervous system reset and deep rest, and the other one is specifically for burnout recovery. A lot of sensitive people find these especially helpful as a wind down after a full day. So, if you've spent years believing something was wrong with you because connection or being social feels tiring, I want you to know it makes sense. We live in a world that doesn't often make space for this kind of need. And when everyone around you seems to recover faster, it's easy to conclude that you're the problem. But your recovery needs are not a flaw. They're information, and they're important information. Your nervous system is telling you how it restores itself, and that information is worth listening to. Sensitive nervous systems are designed for depth in your relationships, depth of awareness and processing, depth in emotional understanding. And depth requires integration time, not as a workaround or as a compromise, but as a genuine part of how you function at your best. When you start honoring that need for integration time instead of just pushing past it or apologizing for it, something begins to shift. Connections start to feel steadier because you're not dreading the aftermath. Your energy becomes more predictable because you're working with your nervous system rather than against it. And your resilience grows not because you suddenly need less recovery time, but because you've learned how to actually support the recovery your body already knows how to do. And that's the reframe I hope will stay with you. Resilience for highly sensitive people isn't about toughening up. It's about learning to take better care of the nervous system you actually have. So, thank you for joining me today. If you've spent a long time feeling like your need for recovery was something to be ashamed of or something you always had to push through, I hope this gave you a framework that feels a little more compassionate and a lot more accurate. If anxiety tends to follow social interactions for you or emotionally full days, my short course, Anxiety Relief, Training Your Nervous System for Safety, might be a really supportive next step. It walks through simple, practical ways to help your body respond more steadily during and after connections. It has the kind of tools that actually work for sensitive nervous systems, and I'll link it in the description. And if this episode was helpful, please follow or share the podcast. It's a meaningful way to help this kind of conversation reach more sensitive people who need it. Take good care of yourself. You are sensitive. You are strong. And honoring the way your nervous system restores itself is one of the kindest things you can do for yourself.